Welcome to Faith Fondue, a podcast featuring author and educator Haley DeMaria and teacher and blogger Ann Strickers. Faith Fondue features a melting pot of topics ignited by a flame, our faith, and guided by the Holy Spirit. This is Season 5, Episode 3, and Ann, let's just jump right into the flame and what is hot this week.
Well, I think you're much more of an Olympics fan, Haley, than I am. I mean, you swam in Olympics. I mean, you participated in an Olympic sport. And as we come to a close of these Winter Olympics, I'm just heartened to hear how well received they were. The ratings were way up. It seems lots of talk today. Obviously, the U.S. Men's hockey and women's hockey teams brought home golds and just some real stars and wonderful performances. So what was your experience like of Milan, and there's another city involved in there.
Right. I know a lot. Well, that was one of the first things I noticed, both with the opening and with the closing ceremonies, was they took place in multiple cities, which hasn't happened before, which I thought was interesting. It was a different take on it. But I also think because there are so many different locations where the different events take place, it probably made sense for the athletes to not have to travel so much. I think like most Americans, and I don't know how I feel about saying this, except for it's just being honest. I find myself more engaged in the summer games than the winter games, but I found myself more engaged in these winter games than perhaps I have been in the past. And I'm not sure why that is. I don't know if maybe the time change made it a little easier to watch things live, stay in touch.
I wondered about that.
Right, because you always want to watch. Like, I think even if you knew the United States was going to win the hockey game and you didn't catch it live, maybe you don't watch the whole game on replay, but you're going to watch some of it on replay. But I think there's something about being able to watch it live that adds to the excitement.
Yeah, I agree. And just to go back to your multiple cities, I guess I didn't react to that, Haley, just knowing World Cup.
Right.
Takes kind of that same format. And I know with Los Angeles games in California, there will be multiple locations as well. So I guess I just saw that as part of the new wave of athletics and getting athletes to certain places. But I did look at the numbers on Paris Olympics. So in spite of a lot of like the political, or, the crazy opening ceremonies and some of the drama with that, it was way higher than Tokyo. And I had to wonder, which was also 2021, off because of COVID. I did have to wonder about the time changes, the practicality of it. And there were, there's always, one of the reasons we love the Olympics is these compelling narratives. So for us in the Bay Area, but you don't even need to be from the Bay Area to appreciate the figure skater, Alyssa Liu. I just think that's just a wonderful story, a marvelous story, and what a performance. I don't know if you were able to catch it.
Yes. I think figure skating is one of the events that many people watch. I think it's just one of the more traditional, long-standing ones. But yeah, that was a great story to follow. I even watched some of the snowboarding this year, which I am not a snowboarder, and it seems like a strange Olympic sport to me, but it's growing on me. I watched some of that. I find it interesting. With the figure skating, many of them are young. With some of these snowboarders, it's like their fifth Olympics, which I find kind of crazy.
The range of age.
Yes, there is a greater range of age, which I thought was interesting as well. I don't know if you followed, again, this is where social media is great. There was a player on the women's hockey team. Her name is Winn. And her three older brothers became like Instagram sensations. I don't know if you have followed them at all. I will send you the link or maybe attach it. So she is the youngest of four kids. She has three older brothers. Her three older brothers just took Milan by storm and wore crazy outfits. They created crazy videos all over town, all throughout the Olympics, really just bringing awareness to the women's hockey team. And then they went on this great run. Really fun for them to see them supporting their younger sister. One of their last posts right before the gold medal match was a video of her when she's maybe 1 year old and she's on skates pushing a bucket and they're cheering her on and trying to get her to skate. And just a really neat, to me, it's what everything the Olympics should be. It's, families supporting each other. We all know that you don't become an Olympian on your own. There's so much that goes into it in terms of the support that you receive from your family, but that's a great storyline as well.
That's awesome. Yeah, so I'm not a huge Olympics person. I have to. I mean, just the part of the discipline of sport and spirituality would be to check in, and it is, they are incredible athletes. I'm not a winter person, so part of me thinks that that's part of my, I can't relate as much, but I will be giving a presentation this week for a confirmation course, and it's on sports and spirituality. And one of like the 5 building blocks of the idea of sport and spirituality is the importance of story. So story just in our faith, Jesus used stories with parables, but even some of the parables he taught are regarded as like some of the greatest moral stories of all time, whether it's the Good Samaritan, the prodigal son. But the story of Alyssa Liu at the age of 13 being a world champion and then just really losing her love for the sport. I don't know what young person won't, so many of us can identify with that.
Right.
Kind of that relationship we go to with something we commit so much of our time and energy and effort to, and the pressure she felt. And she said it was very isolating and lonely because, as opposed to, say, as a golfer, I'm always playing with other people. I mean, you're in your head, but, it is inherently social. And that she was just doing this, practice and training so much on her own. Of course, there's people in the rink and she has a coach, but it is an individual sport in its own way, like other individual sports. And so just wanting to, move on from it. But then that passion is reignited, and she's at UCLA, and she was a 6th grade substitute teacher. Could you imagine, your 6th grade substitute teacher is like now in the Olympics? So just so many parts of her story, which is, a unique Olympic story, but I guess it's not unique in that so many athletes, whether it's, Lindsey Vonn or her or, the quad god, they do carry this story. And that's part of why we cheer for them. They represent our country, but also, right, just the victory. And I mean, why do we compete? We want to see excellence.
Right.
So.
Right. Well, I agree. Her story is unique in the sense that she is an Olympian, but it's not unique in the sense that we all can relate to small parts of it along the way, which you're right.
Yeah.
We don't watch the Olympics just to see who wins and loses. That is a big part, or who gets first, second, and third, gold medal and silver, bronze, I should say, not winning or losing. Everyone at the Olympics is a winner.
Yes,
but
I love that. I want that jacket, that USA jacket.
Right,
Are you kidding?
right.
Like, come on, you're
even
winning right there.
Even the volunteer gear that they got to wear looks like fun. But it is the stories that are behind it. And I think that's always the best part of sport when we talk about is the relationships and the journey. And you can't just judge a person's worth or performance just on one event. It really is a part about the journey and getting there. Certainly the Olympics were hot. They are hot. They are over. We have about a year and a half, or I guess 2.5 years before we head to LA, which will be, completely exciting. Life will be totally different, probably for both of us in 2.5 years. So it'll be fun to still be connecting then and see where life is.
Similar, but like connected to story, Haley, I want to segue to this question that is about stories and reading. So one of our topics, our last episode, was on a book to read, Father Nate Will's Pray Like a Champion Today. And so I was thinking, Alyssa's she's a comeback story, right? But we like underdog stories that are hard to believe, all kinds of stories. But are you someone, we talked fiction, nonfiction. If you are not into a book, will you finish it? Are you someone who's like, once I start reading it, I need to finish it? Do you have an opinion on this? Is this something that you've worked through? I'm curious because I read a great article on it called How to Read Like a Human from Notre Dame Magazine.
Oh,
so that's what prompted this idea.
Yeah, I love this question. I'll have to look up and read that article. I have only not finished 2 books in my life.
Wow.
And
Wow.
so, well, now I'm not a voracious reader. Well, you know me, I listen to a lot of books, so you're in air quotes, read a fair amount. But, I have friends who are reading a book a week. I don't think I read a book a
Yeah.
week. Um, but I tend to do a lot of research before I choose a book. So I think I know going into it that it's going to be a book either that's recommended to me by someone I trust, so I know I'm going to be interested in it, or it's a topic or a person that I find interesting. The two books that I have not finished were book club books that I just found painful and dry and
Huh.
so not anything that I would ever be interested in. And part of why I love this particular book club is because they do introduce me to books that I would never pick up
Yeah.
in a million
Right.
years, and I love them. And I'm so grateful for that. So I always stick with them as long as I can, because I have been introduced to books that I would otherwise never pick up. But there have been two that I just try to go back to and try to go back to. And then book club comes and I say I didn't finish it and I found it really dense and hard, and some people love it. And then I move on. And so since I don't have the pressure or the deadline of reading it by book club, I don't go back to it.
Mm.
But that's pretty rare.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
so yes, I am someone who finishes a book.
Yeah. And it's so rare that you know the number. That's what's impressive to me, because I think there are probably a number of books that I've started that I haven't. But what I found interesting about this article was that it said you should absolutely read books that you don't like. So think about books as friends. There's people you meet. Initially, you don't like them, but you spend time with them and you get to know them, and they become somebody that you really admire. It also said be a messy reader. It said go ahead, read 3 books at one time.
Ooh.
And so, like, if you're a linear thinker, you're like I would think I would characterize myself as more that, like, I start a book and then I finish it, and I don't have 3 at one time. I know
Correct.
other people have that. And so, yes, I do finish my book. My dad says he will skim if he doesn't like it till the end, basically to kind of get the credit.
Mm-hmm.
But, people will talk about wanting credit for finishing the book. But who's the credit for? It's sort of like,
Who's giving it?
right,
Right.
exactly. But I thought that was such an interesting idea, that you don't necessarily know where the story's going.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's merit in hanging on and finishing the book.
Okay, I will keep that in mind next time. Next time I
Yeah.
come across a book that's painful for me. Um, one
I hope you don't.
I hope I don't too.
Yeah,
I hope
we
I
don't
don't
want
too.
any of our listeners to be, uncomfortable or
But I will
bored or, yeah.
Well, but I will say that is one of the bonus and benefits of listening to books is you can speed up the audio. So if I've been driving to book club sometimes and having not finished the book yet, and I will put it on time and a half so I can get through the last couple
Well,
chapters before I get there. But I do like that idea. You're right. We don't, again, if we talk about the cliche, you can't judge a book by its cover, you do need, just as though we shouldn't judge people by how they look as well. We do need to get in and get to know them and stick with it and kind of see it through.
yeah.
I could
So,
subscribe to that.
yeah, it's an interesting approach. The author is very pro reading a book again as well.
Mm-hmm.
I've written about that. I've talked about it. It's not because the book changes, but we do. So
Right.
our own life experiences, points of view, people we meet will influence then how we read the text in a future time, so to speak. So, yeah, great article.
Okay. I will
I'll
look into
read like a
that.
human. Okay.
Great.
Carlos Lozada, class of 93. Thank you, Carlos. Shout out.
All right. Well, let's move on to our spiritual stew. It was Ash Wednesday last week. It is my favorite gospel of the year. Always is every year. When you are fasting, do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing. I think about this gospel probably more than any other gospel of the year. I think about it all the time because
Oh,
I love the whole, and I know I'm not getting the exact words right. I love the idea that we should not self promote what we perceive the good works that we do. That is not being humble. That is not what Jesus is asking us to do. We are to be good stewards, have a good heart, serve others and not seek congratulations
Yeah,
for it.
yeah,
Yes,
right.
recognition. You're right.
Bonus points. Yeah.
Right. It's
Hmm.
so simple and yet so hard to do.
Mm.
Clearly, maybe for me, and so it's always in my head. Again, just those words, and of course, we all know that we all know what our left hand and our right hand are doing at the same time, right? That's not
Hmm.
actually the point,
Yeah.
but it's such a simple metaphor and visual concept is just do what you're going to do, and we don't need to tell people.
Yeah.
um, and then on the flip side, and I know I've talked about this before, there is kind of the whole idea of living your life in a way that does share with others your faith and what
True.
you believe, and it's why we put
Yeah.
ashes on our forehead.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of this dichotomy of sorts of on this day where we're not supposed to be boastful or outwardly share what we're doing, and yet we mark ourselves with ashes that shares exactly what we're doing.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting thought that it strikes me every year, and it truly is a gospel I think about all the time. The other
Yeah.
interesting thing I noticed on Ash Wednesday, and I wasn't quite sure how to respond, but I also knew it was coming from such a kind, good place. I have a very good colleague, a good friend who is a colleague. She's a colleague, but she's a good friend. I really enjoy her. She is a really good person. She's got such a kind heart. She's not a religious or spiritual person at all. And she came into my office on Ash Wednesday and saw my ashes, and she said, "Oh, happy Ash Wednesday." And I started to say, yeah, you don't really say that. Like, that's not a happy Ash Wednesday is not really a
Right.
thing. It's not like happy
Like,
Easter, Merry
or happy
Christmas, or
Mardi
happy
Gras.
Hanukkah.
Right.
Right. But I thought that, okay, stop. She is acknowledging and recognizing something that she knows is important to me
Yeah.
in the way that she feels comfortable saying and sharing, and she was trying. It's like I took it, I thought so I said, thank you. It was, an early mass. But it's kind of like saying Merry Christmas to someone who's Jewish or Happy Hanukkah to someone who's Christian. It didn't necessarily come out the way it should, but it was a great reminder for me to receive the thoughtfulness in the way
Yeah.
that it was shared with me, even if without being judging of how it
Yeah.
probably should be shared. But I've never heard anyone say that to me before, but it really came across as a kind acknowledgement of a special day.
Yeah. Well, I think of, hearing that story, I think of that's like an opportunity or like it's an invitation. I'm curious, like, so you said to her, okay, we don't really say that. And then where did the conversation go? Because I would love to know, like, did she understand like what you meant as because you were surprised by it. So it's for you also like, oh, like a realization of, I haven't had this experience, and therefore, how do I respond to it, and what can I offer?
Right, because here is this opportunity to then talk and share, right, and
Mm-hmm.
to maybe
Yeah.
educate or evangelize, even if we want to go that far. But
Sure.
so I said, "Oh, we don't really say that." I said, but then I felt bad as soon as it came out of my mouth. I felt badly, and I said, "But thank you. I appreciate you, recognizing
Yeah.
that." And then we just
Right.
carried on with the work question that she
Yeah.
had. So
Right.
that was as far as I
Yeah.
got, because
Good.
I didn't like my very first response, which could have been taken kind of in a negative way, and that was not how I wanted to respond.
I don't know. Like, part of me is like, no, that's a fact. Like, I know because you're a kind person, but it's like, and this is an area that's really important to you. But it's also like, I mean, it's not. Yeah, you're reacting because it's not what we say. It's not like, yeah, the intention and the impact, all of that. So I
Right.
think it's fair. I think it's fair to say that, and that's part of the relationship, and it's a great. That's where we learn for ourselves too, and it's not just about, like you said, maybe evangelizing or teaching another person, but for us too. So I think that's so interesting. As you were talking through Ash Wednesday and your thought on the reading, I kept thinking of the word boast. That was the word that came to mind.
Mm.
Yeah, like we don't boast And yet, with this marker of ashes, I just find them so humbling because, the words, not because they're made of the palms from Palm Sunday, but more like we are dust, and to dust we shall return. So it's just this, and it's a cross. It's like, it's so humbling too. Like, yes, it's so outward, but it's so, when we carry them, it's also with with sincerity and seriousness, I suppose. So,
Right.
we enter into these 40 days, and today's gospel reading is about Jesus's 40 days in the desert,
Mm-hmm.
and just teaching about Lent, like how austere the desert is. It's demanding. People find beauty in the desert, but it's also like this, when we think of it, it's not this rich, lush place, even though there's all kinds of life in the desert. But he's tempted, and he's fasting, and he's encountering the devil in this time. So yeah, Ash Wednesday begins. Yeah, not a happy time, but
No, but such a
yeah,
meaningful time. And
yeah.
and I this is probably, I know it's the third year, it could be the fourth year, so I'd have to go back and check. But it's at least the third year where I've been asked to be part of some sort of a Lenten retreat at a local parish, and local meaning within a couple hours. So I will be spending March 8th, Sunday, at a parish about 30 minutes from here as part of their Lenten speaker series, which I have found to be such a meaningful way for me to spend time during Lent. And
Hmm.
that week in particular happens to be a busy week for me because I have that retreat on Sunday, and then I'm also speaking on Tuesday and Wednesday at different places, which tends to be how things happen. It's, there's three in a week, and then maybe, I'll go for a few weeks or, a month or so without speaking at all. But I love, two of the three are religious organizations. One's a Catholic school, one is, of course, a Catholic parish, and then it's a kind of an independent secular school. So I'm really excited about the two that I can really dig deep into just the Lenten journey and the spiritual part of my journey. And then I always love the opportunity to share my story even outside of that. But I have found that that has become a really meaningful part of
Hmm.
my own Lenten journey, and really thinking about different ways to share that during just a very, spiritually meaningful time in the church.
Yeah. Great. Well, and I'm excited for your audiences to hear your message, because I think it's an important message, and you're such a thoughtful speaker. So we're nourished by the word, and the word that you will offer. So speaking of not boasting, this isn't necessarily like the gospel, but it's related to the idea of service and what we do. And so I don't know for my students how, we talk about the importance of service and the value of it, and being a disciple. And a disciple requires being disciplined to be a follower of Christ, so that
Mm.
we, in our discipline, what are some things that we do, right? This is sports and spirituality, so it makes sense. Well, on my birthday, I got an email from the San Francisco Food Bank, and it said, spend your birthday doing service. And I read that email. I was like, there's no way I'm going to spend my birthday going to the food bank. Are you kidding? And I was like, wait a minute. Let's check ourselves. Like,
Right? I kind of love
yeah,
that.
actually, kind of like probably one of the better things to do on somebody's
Mm-hmm.
birthday. It doesn't mean I went, and I will think about it in the future. But I love that they framed it that way. And yeah, my reaction was like, I'm not proud of that, but I'm also like, okay. It hit pause, and I reset, and I said, yeah, I've been given a ton. I've been given so much. I have a lot to be grateful for. Like, out of that should come this idea of service. So, um, anyone who has a birthday during Lent, give it a thought. Okay, listeners, maybe you can do an act of service. And I will work on that myself.
No, I think that's a great challenge. And I think it is, first of all, you've been given the gift of another year. And we
Yeah.
know that that's not always the case. And in a different way, I've seen on social media, again, the good, the bad, and the not so fun part of social media, a lot of people tend to run fundraising campaigns on their birthday. So they'll say, today's my birthday, please donate to the
That's true. Mm-hmm.
SPCA, or,
Mm-hmm.
$5 to the local homeless shelter,
Yeah.
which I think has been kind of neat. I've never done
Yeah.
that. I've not all the time, but sometimes contributed to it. But that's an interesting take on that. If you don't have the time, there's always of time, talent, and treasure, there's always the treasure there that could be offered as well. But I'm with you. I don't know if that's how I would spend my day, but I love the idea that they asked and framed it that way. And I wonder if they know that it might make someone guilt someone into it a little bit too.
Right.
I don't
Well, I
know.
told my students, they loved that I was like, brutally honest, and corollary to the idea of somebody promoting a cause by which to give a gift on their birthday. I have a dear friend that made a gift in my name for the American Heart Association on my birthday. So I thought that was really quite moving, very
That
incredibly
is.
thoughtful. So if you're, I don't see myself as somebody who would do that, in the sense of like, I wouldn't put on my social media, hey, donate to the American Heart Association today. I love that people, want to promote that. Go for it, because if that's your style,
Right.
like you're only helping a good cause or something that matters to you. But also, like, the other side of that is what a great gift to give someone, right? So knowing
Absolutely.
that something might resonate with their own life and their life story. So
Absolutely.
thank you, Tom. The best. Yeah.
So, for takeaways this week, I am going to double down on the daily reminder that, well, one, to not boast. I am going to do my best to live the Ash Wednesday gospel every day of Lent. But I also have had some reminders recently in my life to just make sure you live your life. And that we get those reminders in different ways. I learned this weekend, my brother in law calls it, you have to live your life because you never know when you're going to get that Tuesday afternoon call. And that stems from several years ago. He got a call on a Tuesday afternoon from one of his best friends in his early
Wow.
40s who he was diagnosed with a stage 3 cancer that he survived and battled and has fought through, but really threw my brother-in-law for a loop in his early 40s that he might lose one of his best friends. And so he says that was his trigger and reminder. Again, you never know when you're going to get those Tuesday afternoon calls. And I had a Friday morning call that was similar to that, and it was a good friend who passed away suddenly, and lived a joyful life with his family. He has a
Wow.
wonderful wife and 3 daughters, and they are a very close family. And I know they're really hurting, and we're all hurting for them. But as an emotional day as it was, this is a Notre Dame friend. The connection that I felt all day from our Notre Dame family, from our Monogram Club family, he was also a swimmer, was really tangible and
Mm.
really profound and very emotional too, in addition to being emotional about the loss. And I thought this is what life should be. We should live our
Mm-hmm.
life the way our friend did, just joyfully enjoying his family and giving to others, but also that connection during times of loss and how meaningful that is. I mean, that's really what carried me through the day and how
Yeah.
important that is. And again, that doesn't just show up. It's there because you've built it and you've given to it, and it's so needed and necessary when it's there. And it is a reminder. I called my husband to share the news with him, and I said, this is why we live our lives the way we do. This is why we're jumping on a plane and making a crazy 36-hour trip to see my nephew in his musical. And one, we're able to do it, and we're fortunate to be able to do it. But two, I wouldn't have missed that for the world. I had so
Mm.
much joy watching him on stage doing what he loved, and his joy and his passion and that connection we have with him. That I could have sat home and had a very restful weekend and been sad, and I chose joy and family this weekend, and I think my friend would have been proud of that. But it's those Tuesday afternoon calls, those Friday morning calls, we need to really listen to them and remember that there is always goodness in the sad and the hard.
No. Yeah. Yeah, I'm so sorry about to hear all of that. And I know that just naming it like a Tuesday afternoon call, a Friday morning call, people will understand what that means. So
Right.
definitely invitation to live with intention and purpose and gratitude, obviously. So if I can give, I mean, there's another article. It's called Gracious Goodness. Or no, it's called Goodness Gracious. And it's just about seeing the world from a perspective of goodness being one of the most important things, most important qualities in a person. So it speaks about selflessness and empathy and seeing people just for being good, like truly good, not competitive, not antagonistic, but just good. And so I think if we could all just be, goodness, that would be a good way to live your life, what you've been given. So
I will look that book up.
Yeah,
and I will finish it.
Article.
If I start it, I will read the whole thing.
You probably won't disagree with it. That's the problem. It might be messy because it might be in the middle of something else, but I don't know that you're going to not like it. I think you'll like it from the beginning. Some friends are like that. Some people we do like from the start, and that's okay, right?
Yes, and some we don't, and they grow on us, and those sometimes become great friends too.
Yeah, I might have to take an inventory of that. Oh, let me go through the people I didn't like initially. Yeah. And then who's told me in my own life that they haven't liked me? That would be kind of fun.
Right.
Yeah.
That would be. If you're listening and you didn't like us when you first met us, let us know.
Yeah, give us a thumbs down on our podcast, and then we'll know, and then turn it. So, yeah. Keep us humble.
Yes. Well, Anne, we are praying for everyone in our lives who need extra grace, who need healing, who need the reminder to not be boastful. I think we all need that. But certainly praying for all of our listeners this Lent as we take it day by day, step by step, and continue down this journey.
Amen. Thank you, Haley.
Amen. Have a great week.
You too.